This time of year, the holiday season, must get pretty exciting around the house with all the kids and everything getting amped up for Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Christmas is definitely for kids. So we'll have, our 3 boys under 7 are like the little Maida mafia over here, and they just, they love it. And we're traveling so much over the holidays because we're doing this show with Entertainment Tonight, and we're gonna go to a Leaf game and then go away. It's just like I think that just the traveling and meeting new people and all that kind of stuff. It just even helps. It helps deflect, so it's not just about presents. One, which is big for us, and 2, it's just a good time to really be together.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to deflect away from the present thing and trying to get more of the meaningful aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Chantal and the kids are at a hospital here in Santa Monica right now, just playing at an old folks' home.
Oh,
just playing Christmas songs. Yeah.
Now the new song "Heavyweight," which we're playing here at the station. What was the story behind that one?
I mean, to be honest, you know what? It's one of 9 or 10 songs that are kind of all at this level, if not better. And it's just one that we finished a few weeks ago. We had it mixed because we're just trying to kind of mix and finish things as we go. So just sounded great, and we passed along to our management and felt like, yeah, you know what, let's just put this thing out there and see what happens. And so far the reaction's been amazing, and it's really kind of the tip of the iceberg to where this record's gone. It's very musical. It's very kind of riff, I'm not going to say rock riff driven, but it's very guitar riffy driven. It really took a lot of time challenging ourselves with harmony and with different chord progressions. So in our heads, it's a huge step forward, and everyone's really excited about it.
Well, I know on the website it said that this is the record you guys have been trying to make for years. So having accomplished that, do you feel that kind of sets up the band for the next few years going forward, the next tours, the next album?
You know what? Yeah, I mean that's the best kind of the best interpretation of what we've done is that this really like for the next 10 years in terms of what we're going to do creatively as a band on records and how that translates live is like it's going to be a different band. Like it's obviously we've been playing together for this long and making records, but for whatever reason, it just took this timing and this time in our career where we made it on our own, independently, and we're just able to really kind of dig into ourselves in terms of what we want out of ourselves as musicians and just really push and challenge. A friend of mine from Los Angeles I brought in to help record and produce, and he's an incredible musician and just a real blunt guy. And having someone like that, I think at this point, it's like we're men. We don't need someone to kind of walk on eggshells around us. If something sucks, just say it. Like we're and that's what he was, and we really kind of took everything he said to heart, and just really made sure that this was as challenging as we could take it.
Yeah, you're talking about doing this album kind of on your own. How is that different for the band as opposed to when you were doing stuff, under a label?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, it's a burden having a hit song or a hit record, I look back to the way Naveed was made. That was made by a bunch of kids that didn't know what they were doing. But ultimately, the energy and the honesty and the sincerity in it is because we didn't know, and we were just really making music for ourselves. Who knew what was going to happen with it? Half those songs were written before we got a record deal. And then, Clumsy came, and there wasn't even a lot of success after Naveed. We definitely made a mark for ourselves, but we didn't feel like, wow, we just conquered the world. And then we had that record Clumsy, and all of a sudden it's a huge hit around the world, and it sells a platinum record in America and all these records in Canada and everywhere else, and it just felt like, okay, now there was a bit of pressure to stand up. Now we're on a big label in New York, Columbia, and they're putting the pressure on us. And it wasn't like we were, under the thumb the whole time, but you don't realize it until you're actually outside of it, like we were on this record, where it's like, okay, we didn't give in to the record labels, but there was added pressure. And now the fact that we had nothing except, the pressure that we put on ourselves. It was, it's all the cliches. It was very liberating. There was huge freedom in thought and creativity in the studio this time, and we just took advantage of it.
When you look at the record industry now, how it is, like, how do you view it changing over the next few years? Do you think it's going to go the way of maybe just singles, not full albums, or how do you view the future?
I think it's going to be both. I think it's easy to think that that's the way it's being driven, where it's just about a song. But I think there's a new generation of kids that are growing up on records. There's a new generation that are growing up on singles. But I think ultimately, it really depends on what type of music and what's fulfilling you as as a, in terms of your creative entity. And I think some people just, they love to invest in a band, and you start to develop a relationship like we all did with bands, whether it was, I don't know, for me it was early on, it was kind of U2 and REM and Springsteen, and then I ventured into like Dylan and Neil Young, and you go through your life, and that whole, talk another cliche of music being the soundtrack of your life. I don't know if it's ever just a song. It's more about an era. It's more about an artist, when I look back anyway. And, I know kids that are like that already. We have young fans of our band that maybe have only been with us since Gravity, but, there's always going to be both sides. And I think, the potential for bands to develop is a little bit more difficult because it's harder, to make, you don't have the same support system that you used to in the music business. But there's a lot of great music being made. You gotta sift through it a little bit more these days, but a lot of great records out there.
What's catching your ear now? Like, are there bands out there that you're really, pumped up to see what they do next, or that you're listening to pretty steady?
Yeah, I mean, there's this band from Wales called the Joy Formidable, who are heavier than any band I've heard in a long time. And it's just a three-piece, and the lead singer's a female, and she plays bass, or she actually plays guitar and sings. And the record is ridiculous. I can't stop listening to it. It's one of those things where, yeah, you know what, I don't even listen to as many records anymore as I used to, but when I find a record, it's done. It's like it becomes like a mantra, and that becomes something that, if I get in the car and I know I'm driving for the next half hour, that's what I put on.
Awesome. And actually, we play the Joy Formidable here, and I can attest that's a phenomenal piece of work.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and there's a few. They're not all that Bon Iver record. Like, if you're going to fall asleep to something, man, that thing will take you to places you've never been. And it really is about finding, those key artists, and everyone live that that you just connect with, and you don't maybe even know why, but it's not about a song. It's about their whole body of work, whether it's on a record or trying to, make that bigger investment into a career. But I still think that's going to happen a lot.
You got the big New Year's Eve show that's going to be broadcast nationally. Does the band feel extra pressure? I mean, New Year's Eve, that's a lot of memories for people. They're going to be thinking back to what they did New Year's Eve 2011. Does that increase the pressure for you guys?
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. That's added pressure right now.
I apologize. That was not my goal.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe. I probably will think about that a bit. But I think, at the end of the day for us, this will be our first show, really, since we finished this record. And I think that, it really says a lot the way we're kind of bringing 2012 in. It's on stage, and that's really what 2012 is going to be for us. It's going to be a lot of live touring, so it's kind of the right way to start it off for us. And we get to play Heavyweight live, play some older stuff, obviously, and just and it's kind of in a weird way. I think the celebration obviously is for New Year's, but on a personal level for the four of us, it's definitely going to be just looking really forward to this next year.
That's awesome, and we can't wait to have you back in Halifax. Halifax,
well, definitely one of our favorite cities in the world, to be honest.
Switching gears a bit, you're getting the Alan Slight Humanitarian Spirit Award during Canadian Music this week. I know you guys do a lot of charity work, both you and your wife. This was an odd year. As somebody that's been around the world doing charity work, how did you view 2011 with the upheavals and the protests? And
I think social media has really created a monster in a good way. And you see what happened with the Arab Spring, and you see what I think the Occupy movement never really got the right. There's a lot of disinformation, but I think it's a movement that's not over. I think it's something that is kind of just festering and trying to figure itself out still. But that's I think it's a great kind of shift in the way people around the world and people are able to kind of unite, and you have many examples. Some I just mentioned that it's possible, where people might have thought, it was too big of a stumbling block, or how do we do this? They've just proven on so many different levels in 2011 that it is possible, and I think that's I think for the world in general, it's a really positive thing.
It seems like everybody has hit that we're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore position, and finally it's tipped to action. Yeah,
I don't think we're there yet in terms of. If you look at some more of the the Western cultures and really developed nations, it's like there's still some apathy. You look at voting records and in Canada in general. If there's 2.3 million people between the ages of 18 and 25. If they were to go vote, they could sway an election either way. That small group of people could decide what kind of government Canada has, or even start another party. To be honest, so we're not there yet because we still have a pretty good next to most people, but it's definitely an awakening. You can feel that awakening happen. You can feel people talking, whether it's on the bus or in school or colleges or at work. People are. It's on their lips. It's on their tongues these days, and that's how every revolution that's how evolution continues and starts. It's you just have to have that discourse.
And you guys contributed because you had the "Fight the Good Fight" song, which is a great song, and it's not going to be on the new album, though, right?
It's not. No, I mean, I really didn't want that record to kind of hijack this record, because it's not an overly political record, and "Fight the Good Fight" was definitely was written during the Occupy thing, and it feels like that's what it is. And we actually we donated it to Occupy Wall Street. The fellows that are putting the record together in New York asked for the song, so I think it just it's our song. We'll play it sometimes, and we believe in it, but I don't know if it's very indicative. And like I said, I didn't want it to hijack this record, so we gave it to that cause.